So here at Dogfish, we probably have over 3-decade track record of totally pushing the outer boundaries of off-center recipes. And sometimes we stick the landing, and sometimes we F around and find out and maybe tumble a little bit. Some of the recipes that we make, we love that they've never been made before, and sometimes you kind of find out why they've never been made before.
Another story comes to mind when we were told that we were going to do a collaboration with the company Mace, the pepper spray company.
He wanted to do this beer called Your Mace, and he wanted it to be a spiced porter using the pure capsaicin that they use in pepper spray.
And so we had to figure out how much we were going to use, first of all, with weapons grade capsaicin powder.
And so me and Dan Weber, who was down in R&D at the time, we go into the lab and we get under the fume hood.
I had a gas mask on. I was in the lab under a flame hood, all the precautions, with a little pipetter, trying to figure it all out. And
as we're measuring it out, everybody in the lab started coughing, and then we had to evacuate. So when we brewed with it, we had like full powered air respirators to brew with this stuff. It was awful to work with. We still have some too.
But yeah, I mean, the biggest task is trying to figure out the amounts that are, not only safe to use, but also can make a pleasant tasting beer.
We did a beer called Garlic Breadth, BREADTH, where we added black crack fermented garlic at every point throughout the breadth of production of that beer. Perfect partner for spaghetti and meatballs, but your entire body stunk of garlic coming out every one of your pores for about a week. So that one didn't get commercialized.
Yeah, chalk lobster, that was one.
They brewed it at the pub one time, and they submitted it to GABF, and it actually won a medal. So Sam came back from GABF and he said, hey, I really want to do this beer on the larger scale.
And we had 400 pounds of heads and bodies, and we made essentially a lobster stock out of that on the pub brewing system. And it stunk up the entire pub, like they had to cancel lunch that day.
We decided that we had to brew that at 3 in the morning when customers weren't around.
So I delegated that to Dan Weber the next time we had to do it.
So I got tasked with doing that. But yeah, that was something.
Another one was a big retail account asked us to make a green-hued beer for St. Patrick's Day. And we're like, maybe, but we don't use any artificial colors or flavorings. So we stumbled upon spirulina, which is a form of algae. And we made a beer called Verdi Good. It was Verdi bad. Tasted like pond scum. Never made that one again.
Wasabi was an interesting one because Sam insisted that we get real wasabi.
I think at one point we had the largest concentration of wasabi anywhere on the East Coast. We had like 700 pounds of wasabi paste here.
It was very hard to use because it comes in a paste. So we had to sort of mix it up in water. Obviously, again, safety is an aspect there with gas masks and goggles and stuff like that you don't normally have to think about with particular ingredients.
But this also had powdered horseradish in it.
And one of the brewers decided that they were gonna, pop the top off and check it out. And he took one whiff.
And he just dropped to the floor like he'd been maced. Mace seems to be a common theme in this, but it was, we had some experiences like that at the production scale.
Along with, the peppers and everything, we tried to use whole flower hibiscus. And it was really difficult to deal with, mostly just because you had to strain out the flowers, keep them out of the drains, things like that. Just the sheer mass of them became an issue. And then there were, flower petals that were making their way into the brews, etc. So that all became a much larger pain than we expected.
All of those were a fun challenge. I mean, because there's no textbook you can go to and say, hey, how do I brew with mace or, bug flower or any of those things? There's
a lot of trial and error that comes with using ingredients like this. Another story comes to mind with 61. We had to figure out how we were going to add all of this wine concentrate at the right time during fermentation. Because wine fermentation is quite a bit different than a beer fermentation. Diacetyl reduction was an issue. Foaming was an issue. So all these different things we had to come up with a solution to as far as keeping pressure on the tank, as far as, different temperatures to clean up that acid and stuff like that. And a lot of it comes with trial and error.
You're learning as you go. You're sort of building the plane as you're flying, and that's challenging and a lot of fun.
Nowadays, we have a lot more robust R&D program to figure that stuff out before the large scale, hopefully. Sometimes we're still flying by the seat of our pants when things don't work out, but that's part of the reason everyone loves working here.
Another one that I can think of is a beer we made called Au Courant, where we made 300 barrels of it without trying it first. Not a good idea. Now we brewed tiny little R&D batches before we go for it in scale. So the beer had way too much Courants in it. It under-fermented, so it was cloyingly sweet, but we gave it away to our coworkers as their mandatory payday case for about 5 months. So anytime you showed up at a block party or a tailgate anywhere within like a 30-mile radius of the Milton Brewery where I'm sitting right now, inevitably a Dogfish coworker would bring cases and cases of this beer that they couldn't give away, and everyone at the party would yell, come on, instead of Au Courant, because they were sick of it. But thankfully, we've made a ton of amazing recipes that nobody gets sick of, and we're gonna keep pushing those boundaries here at Dogfish Head.